Welcome, everyone, to the Simply Compliance podcast. I am your host, Craig Willard, along with Mr. Nick Landers. What's up, Nick?
Hey, we're having a great week so far. How about you, Craig?
All good. All good, man. What's up?
Craig, we have a problem. I
Oh,
need you to clear something up for us today. We've been hearing from a lot of DoD contractors, other um, technology folks that are working on CMMC readiness, and specifically those who are starting the self-assessment process. A lot of times they just don't know where to start, but there seems to be some conflicting information um, as it relates to what steps to actually follow, which controls to follow. So could
yeah.
you take a minute and clear the air for us today?
Yeah, sure. You and I have been talking about this actually for quite a while because we originally started hearing a little bit about it, and then that voice got louder and louder as people start talking about doing these self-assessments and getting their SPRS scores and all that stuff, and then also preparing for CMMC. People have been using an old document, and there's a MEPS document it's a self-assessing handbook, and it's currently out there. It's available, but it's off, and people are going to use it to do their self-assessment, but they're not going to actually be able to meet the true 800-171 requirements because the document just hasn't changed. So let me share, for those that are watching this on YouTube, let me share this document. This is 3.1.1 of 800-171 from the MEPS document. This is back in from 2017, I believe. But if we look at 3.1.1, that control is limit system access to authorized users, processes acting on behalf of authorized users or devices. And then it's going to give you a couple questions. For example, does the company use passwords? Does the company have authentication mechanisms? Does the company require users to log in to gain access or log on to gain access? And then another one, are account requests authorized before system access is granted? And those answers come with a yes, no, partially, does not apply, or an alternative approach. However, those are not really the objectives of 3.1.1. And so if we look at one of the more recent versions of 800-171, 3.1.1, and even if we look at the CMMC version of 3.1.1, there is actually specific objectives, none of which ask specifically about a password. For example, 3.1.1 in the most current version of 800-171 says limit system access to authorized users, processes acting on behalf of authorized users and devices, including other systems. So the control, the security requirement is absolutely the same. The objectives are completely different. So objective A says authorized users are identified. Well, that doesn't match the first question on the old MEPS question, or on the old MEPS document, which is, do you use passwords? The next one is processes acting on behalf of authorized users are identified. So the problem people are going to run into is if they're using MEPS to self-assess, they're going to get it wrong because it doesn't meet the true controls for 800-171. Thus, it will not meet the true controls for CMMC. And there's nothing worse than thinking that you're on the right track and going into the situation to become certified and thinking that you got it right. And you pull that CMMC document down to start checking the new stuff, and all of a sudden you realize you don't have it. You've got a long way to go because you were looking at the wrong things. Doesn't mean that you may not have things in place, but you started off with the wrong questions. And so I think it's really important in the IT consulting space, in the the cybersecurity DoD contracting consulting space, and also for DoD contractors to know which documents they should be using. And I really just wish they would pull those old documents. NIST would just pull the old documents so that there isn't any confusion whatsoever. I do believe it may be the only document that says it's a self-assessment handbook.
Wow. Yeah. I can see how that might be a huge deal as somebody uses that old documentation and thinks they're in good shape. And then fast forward to, um, when it's time to begin the actual CMMC assessment process. That is a huge deal. So I appreciate you sharing and
Yeah.
trying to help folks get ahead of this.
Yeah. Well, if you took that MEP document, that was the first one you grabbed, you're just going to start going through it. You're not going to know any different.
Yep.
But if you look at the most current version and even how they interact with CMMC, they're identical. So you want to use the version that's more consistent with CMMC, because that's where they pulled a lot of that information from. They just moved it right on over. Don't use the old document. If you're using the MEP document, quit using it. You can refer back to it and use some of those questions to, fill in the answers, but say authorized users identified, blah, blah, blah. System access is limited to authorized users. Yes, we limit authorized users by MAC address on the network, and we limit the user's access to those devices through, passwords that are 8 characters, blah, 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 whatever. But I would not solely rely on the MEP document. It's not going to put you in the right space, and you're going to have to do a little bit extra and potentially a lot of extra work at the end when you're trying to really get into the certification process.
Yep, perfect. Well, that's great advice. Will you say it one more time? And I don't know if you know where folks are finding these documents, but will you just clarify one more time which one not to use
Yeah.
and which one to use?
Yeah.
And then anything else you'd like to add, maybe other options that they could utilize.
Yeah. And again, for those that are watching this on the YouTube channel, you're going to watch, this says that's the NIST Handbook 162. It's the NIST MEP Cybersecurity Self-Assessment Handbook. Patricia Toth, I believe is that name. And it has a date of November 2017. So if you are using that document, my recommendation is to put it down and go grab the most current version of 800-171 from the NIST website, and even refer into the CMMC documentation. Like I said, it's the same. There are 20 additional controls in the CMMC space, but still, that will help you really harden up the understanding of what the current 800-171 expectations are and lead with that. Do not use the one that says, do you use passwords?
Perfect. Good deal. Well, Craig, thanks for taking the time to clarify, and hope that helps somebody. If you have any questions or need further guidance on anything related to CMMC, feel free to reach out, schedule a complimentary consultation, and we'd be glad to help. Thanks, Craig.
No problem. Take care, guys. Have fun.